Hello guys, welcome back to the Hitchcock Takeover here on Beyond the Realms. Today I'm going to be reviewing his film from 1935 entitled The 39 Steps. Many people out there cite Shadow of a Doubt from 1943 as being Hitchcock's first masterpiece film, but I would beg to differ and say that The 39 Steps is. That's not taking anything away from Shadow of a Doubt, but I think 39 Steps is grossly underrated. I mean, it's people talk about it a lot, but it's not considered a masterpiece, and I honestly don't understand why, because this film really, really blew me away. I totally enjoyed it. It tells the story of a guy named Richard Haney who, at the beginning, they're showing this theater where this guy named Mr. Memory is putting on an exhibition. He has photographic memory. He can remember anything, how things are made, dates things are done. Fight breaks out. There's gunshots. Richard runs out front. He runs into this woman who ends up coming back to his hotel, and she says she's a spy, and she has some British intelligence, and there's these two guys that are following her. Well, later that night, she comes into Richard's room, and she has been stabbed, and she's clutching a map in her hand, and she dies. So Richard thinks that, this must be her contact. So Richard's taking this map, and he ends up getting away from the hotel, and he decides he's going to go to find this town, this person, or go to this town and figure this out. All along this woman talks about this guy that's missing part of his finger, to watch out for him because he's like the main guy that's after her. And so anyway, Richard gets on this train, then he sees a newspaper where he finds out that he's wanted for murder. People think that he murdered this woman. So, things really get crazy. And he ends up grabbing this woman that's on the train to act like she is his wife as the police are coming on to her, or getting on to him. And her name's Pamela. And Pamela ends up turning him over to the police. But he gets away again. And, he's going to this town to try to figure out what this secret information is and how he can pass along this secret information in this 39 steps that this woman just vaguely talked about. Guys, this is just a very complex story, which Hitchcock is known for, and it's interesting how the characters are in this film. Richard is, it comes down to being, an innocent man accused of a crime that's on the run to prove his innocence, which Hitchcock did this in a lot of his films. There was many of them that he did. And he actually basically repeated this film just a couple years later with a movie called Young and Innocent. But he also used this format for North by Northwest, and there was a couple other ones they used it for. But I believe, was this the first one he did it with? I'm not sure, but anyway, it's just great. And the character of Pamela, I love the transition of her character, because at first she's very leery of Richard. Obviously, she turns him over to the police. Later on in the story, she turns him over to the police yet a second time, and Richard is still able to get away. But one thing leads to another, and they end up handcuffed together at one point during the film, so she has no choice but to go with Richard. And, through hearing some conversations, she finds out, Richard is an innocent man, and she starts to understand Richard's plight and why he's doing what he's doing. So then her character begins to transform, into this, being one of the protagonists, like the protagonist's sidekick. And she begins to, help Richard then. But Hitchcock is just a master at taking characters like that and being able to transform them within, the running time of a film and making it believable also. Pamela's a prime example of that. But Robert Donna as Richard is really awesome. You care about him. You care about him. You want to see where he's going and what's going to happen with this. And, Richard just really feels like he needs to do this, and things don't turn out so good for him. just when he thinks he's getting where he needs to be and to get things done like he needs to do, he runs into more trouble every time all along the way. But the movie is just shot exceptionally well, and this is probably the earliest example of I'm not sure what the technique's called, but there's a housekeeper that finds the stabbed woman after Richard leaves at the beginning of the film, the woman that had the map, and she walks into the hotel room and she turns around and faces the camera and she starts to scream, and immediately it cuts to a train that is speeding by. That Richard had just got on, and you realize that her scream wasn't even a scream, it was the sound of the train. Just brilliant. I mean, you see stuff like that all the time these days, but this is the earliest example I've known of any filmmaker doing that. I don't know if Hitchcock invented that. I'm guessing he probably did, because I don't know of Hitchcock being a ripoff of anything. So very cool, on that part. But there's just a lot of different. He goes to a lot of different locations in the film. There's a lot of on location shooting. You have city shots, you have train shots, you have countrywide shots, you have farmland. I mean, a lot of different variations and locations in this film. Also, it's an action adventure, mystery type. But guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It's right now one of my favorite Hitchcock films that I've seen thus far. I highly recommend this one. I highly, highly recommend it. I give it a 9.5 out of 10. It's almost as damn near perfect as any other Hitchcock film I've seen. And it is on the Hitchcock 20-pack that you can get for really cheap. So yeah, guys, check it out. Also, this film is on Netflix, or not Netflix, but YouTube. You can watch the whole movie right here on YouTube. So no reason to not watch it. So yeah, guys, I hope this makes you want to check it out, and I hope you all are doing well. I'll talk to you soon. Later.